you have to consider the number of days of the week that the student will attend university, the number of weeks in a semester that a student will attend university, number of semesters per year that a student will attend university, and the number of years that a student will attend university. This is a very simple model because all we need to do is take the product of all of those. So I want you to come up with each of those variables. I want you to then run the equation within R, and I want you to get a solution. I also want you to identify your assumptions. In each line, there should be a note for each of the variables, clearly identifying your script that identify your assumption about all four of those variables. Make sense? I want you to do one last thing. For each one of these, I want you to identify it by a letter. So D equals, that's going to be days. How many days per week? W equals, that's going to be weeks in a semester. How many weeks in a semester? Give your number there. S equals the number of semesters per year. Get S equals there. And then, of course, Y equals the number of years for graduation. So that when you do the product of D times W times S times Y, you will be able to get that answer. Make sense? Okay. I would encourage you to work together. I'm going to take Max. That's all right, because I'm also going to set the randomized list. Oh, by the way, I want to be very clear about this. This should be as accurate an answer as you can come up with. It is the generalized undergraduate student. Delete that. So, oh, here. Why? What did we do here?
I put it as a note at first. I saw you.
And when you put it as a note, did you tell R that there was a variable called W that equal 18? Or do you just say, R, there's a note, ignore everything else? Exactly. So that's why you didn't actually create a variable called W yet. Once we did that down here, then you're set. Now I want you to put in underneath hashtag D and explain your assumption for why it's 5. Hashtag W, explain your assumption for why it's 18.
Same thing, but I couldn't hear what you told me.
Okay, so let me see. I think it's on. Hit Control L. Great. I'll run your code. Exactly. Okay, so what do you think happened? Does R know what the value of D is yet? Does R know what the value of W is yet? How about S? How about Y? So what lines of code do you have to run before 9?
All of those.
You got it. That's it. Go to edit, edit, and go undo. Okay. Now I want you to write lines underneath that give me a note to explain why you assume, in your case, 3 for day. Both you guys assume 3 for day. Why do you assume 16 for W?
How many days a week here? 365. So then,
Why 4 days in a week?
well, because you don't really go to school every day.
Or why 4?
Well, it's an average. Like sometimes some people can only have 2 classes a week, like during one semester. You want like all.
What assumption are you making about 4?
It's an average.
Is it?
Where it's our assumption. It's
What's the assumed student when you put down 4?
undergrad.
Is it? You sure? So what are the different majors in undergraduate degree?
Psychology.
Psychology. That's it? Just psychology? Biology, English. You guys are making some very big assumptions. Are they accurate? And the list of degrees is kind of comically assumptive. I don't know.
Okay.
So did you run the code?
What?
Did you run the code?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, code looks beautiful. So I want you now to write all your assumptions as individual lines. That'll make it easier for me to see. Yeah, so go down. Well, those aren't really assumptions. You're just stating what the variable is. So why do you assume 5?
Okay.
Yep. I'll be right there. Or Heather, you got Jackie? Yeah, I'll be right there.
Are we making like a huge single equation to account this, or like
One equation to account the average student.
one single equation?
To describe the average undergraduate. Sure.
So I'm running my equation, and this is what I have. I need to equal that
Do me a favor down there. Go to Control L. Okay, now go run like you do. Okay, keep going.
What in the world?
Most likely what happened is I saw the error was in W and W just wasn't activated. But your letters look correct, and that's why I want you to rerun it. The other thing I wanted to do is clear it out so you and I could just focus on what it could be. Control L is how you clear out your console.
Sorry, I didn't understand. What was the issue?
We don't know. I don't think there was an issue. What I can imagine is line 13 wasn't run. So when you ran line 20, it didn't know what W was.
Well, it was giving me the errors for Y, so I erased Y.
Okay, then it may have been Y.
And then it gave me the error for S. So I did it for S, and then at that point I was like, it's gonna be something else. So that's when I waited for you to tell me.
Yep,
Oh,
you're perfect.
I don't know, whatever.
Perfect.
Mean by assumptions, like writing notes of what like T stands for, W.
No, you told me what it stands for. You didn't tell me why. Why did you pick the number 4? What are you assuming? Yeah. What are you assuming? Okay, so let's go ahead and get, if I can get y'all's attention, let's go ahead and get started. So the code is pretty easy, right? So someone give me the value for D. D equals what? That's as far as I can pull it down. Oh, the screen. 7. Hey, 7 was the first thing I heard. I write 7. Okay, so now we get W. What's our value for W? 15? I heard 15, I think. Oh, I heard 18 louder now. Okay. Okay, and now we have semesters. What's our value for S? 3. Okay, and now we have years. Now I'm Chloe. 4. That's almost cheating, Matt. So and now we take the product of all of them. This is the lovely easy part. S times Y. We run our line of code. Let's clear it out. I don't like to see that. Control L. We run our line. We get an error. Oh, I don't want that. Paul. What'd I do, buddy? Okay, I'll try that. Nope, got the error, buddy. Oh, I did highlight 12 through 16. Oh, excellent, excellent. So, Michelle, why did I get the error in these two cases, but when we highlighted lines 12 through 16, we actually get an answer? Perfect, perfect. We're gonna get errors all over the place. And it's just a lot of problem solving, trying to figure out where those errors are. When I just highlighted the actual product, we didn't define the variable, so it had no idea. Jackie? I mean, D is the first problem. I don't care after that. And that's one of the things about R. It's not going to go through all of your code. As soon as it has an issue, I'll tell you I have an issue. You fix that first issue, you may have a second issue. They'll say I have a second issue. You may have a third issue. Guess what it's going to say after you fix the first 2? I have another issue. And it's just looking for you to solve its issues. It's a very needy program. Just attend to its needs. Okay, so that part is the easy part. And that part's the fun part. We get an answer. Right now, we are assuming that the average college student, and we'll make it at FGCU, make it simple for ourselves, goes to school for 1,512 days before graduating, on the assumption that they attend classes 7 days a week, on the assumption that the semesters last 18 weeks, on the assumption that they will take 3 semesters of class, and then on the assumption that they graduate with the SOAR 4.4. And if that annoys you to no end, yes, that was intentional. And my apologies for being a punk. You guys heard about that kerfuffle, right? Yeah. And you guys heard about the gone kerfuffle. Yeah, it's all okay. Yeah. You guys are grandpa. Oh, they announced last week upper administration that Soren 4 was discontinued, which means anyone that was trying to graduate in 4 years to get a rebate on the first year tuition that was gone. And then they realized that that probably didn't go over very well. So they immediately said, but it's grandfathered. So anyone who's actually already in the system going forward as an undergraduate still has access to that. And that's the obvious thing that should be. Yes. Yep. Which speaks to a very important thing. Why did they make the change? People are mad. They have to make the change because it costs way too much. Way too much. You know, we're not a state-supported institution. We're a state-subsidized institution. State gives us some money, but they don't really pay for your education. That's really tuition, another thing. So, but students are mad, parents are mad. They voiced their complaints very quickly. The administration heard. They're not stupid. They know it's up, and they made the adjustment rapidly. So, sorry, that was an unnecessary joke that went to a very long-winded explanation. But it does bring up an interesting point. Do y'all believe those assumptions? I don't. So let's start with days. And I'm going to write a note. And I'm going to say days of 7, assume. And if someone want to tell me a justified explanation for why 7 is the correct number for the average student. Okay, so it's not. So do we agree that that is an inaccurate assumption? There's not a chance in Hades. Okay, so we'll fix that. And that's one of the things I love about code. We go into our script, and we make that adjustment. You guys haven't told me what it is. So, Kevin, you're up, buddy. Kevin. Kevin's saying 5. That's fantastic. Okay, so 1, let's just get by show of hands. How many people say 5? 5 is cool. The final answer has to be a whole number. Absolutely. A lot of people are saying 5 is pretty cool. In fact, actually, it was a pretty decent number. It wasn't a majority, but it wasn't just Kevin by himself. You guys didn't let him hang. But I ask you a question. What are you assuming? In that statement, what does that assume? Going to class every day of the work week. Is that fair? Is that valid? I'm only asking my undergraduates here. So if you're a graduate student, just go back into your memory. You're younger than me, so you could do it as well. I cannot, but you can. How many of you guys went to school in class 5 days a week? You, here and there. Now, did we have everyone raise our hand? Okay, so we automatically now know that that assumption is not accurate. You can go to school 5 days a week. That is not what this model is. This model is based on how many days of school will you go to as a typical undergraduate. Those are different questions, and therefore they have different answers. Jackie, you were going to say? I don't know. You haven't told me. I don't know. So we're counting virtual? Okay. What else are you assuming if you put 5? No one skipping class. No holidays. And I mean, come on, how many days of class are we having this week? 1 really weird week. I mean, it was nice. And it's good to celebrate the Jewish holiday, but we didn't. We just didn't have class. It was weird. So, hi. So, what's a better assumption? Probably not 5. 3, what are we assuming? And again, this does not need to be a whole number. What are we assuming with 3? I don't know what that is yet. But why 3 days of the week? Okay, so what I'm hearing here is that we assume on average that the student has classes 4 days a week, but they will likely only be attending 3 days a week because they'll probably skip 25% of their classes. Really? Or there are holidays enough where we're going to reduce our overall class intake to 25%. or they could stack the classes. That's interesting. When you thought of the number 5, 4, or 3, who did you envision? You envision, oh, you envision yourself. Well, are you all a good representative sample of the population of undergraduates coming out of FGCU? That was an interesting emphasis, Erica. I appreciate it. That was good. Oh, and very similar majors. So are you a representative sample? Are you a good indicator of what should be the average? Probably not. Tell me a little bit about you all. Science. And you guys say it like that. I mean, you guys say science. You don't say science. It really has to sing out. Paul, you guys say? We have a lot of labs. They take a long time. You have the class and you have the lab. I mean, like the arts, they got the labs too, but they just tend to have the labs and the labs. We do class and labs. We don't just do class. What else? Do we like to have short classes? Well, okay, let me make sure I'm saying this clearly. You might like short classes. Do we like to offer short classes? No, we like long classes. In fact, I had to fight hard to get an extra hour in this class each time. This class used to be taught in like an hour and 15 minutes, which is just stupid. You could not get anything done. It was insane. So we got you more time. You can thank me later, like at 5:15. Are you representative of the population of undergraduates? Do you have any buddies who go to school 1 day a week? Lots. Give me some majors where that's actually pretty common. Teaching? Teaching, they tend to come on campus 1 day a week, especially at the end, because they're actually spending most of their time in the work environment as an active internship, which I think you can argue is either a class or not. And if you argue not, I think that'd be a fair argument. Others? Business. Business tends to do what I think someone said, stack them. They tend to sort of take all their classes in 1 day, get them there, go through it. Hospitality, same basic idea. They get out into the business community. The classes here, they tend to get organized in a very efficient way. They're part of our overall average. Now, the life sciences. Is it a large sample from the overall university or a small sample? Very large. Biology is one of the largest undergraduate degrees. When you add in things like marine science, ecology, you add in, and you can make argument for psychology as being a life science, it starts to get really, really large. Probably the modal, not a majority, but the modal. So it's a good representative. But is it really a good assumption to say 4, 5, or 3 as the average student? And is it a really good assumption to have a whole number from the number of days? Great, take a break. I'm gonna call you back. I wanna bet a number and assumption for why we have the number of days you attend class. You can come up with a model. So I will see you all in 5 minutes. Come on back I'll give you an extra minute because Sam has some good concerns and I want you guys to ruminate on that. So come on back at, what is that? 4:38. Come on, go, get up, walk around, move. Oh, I suck. Make that make it 4:45. Just enjoy the time. Go ahead and pause the recording.